The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of March 17 to 21 reveal that Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers will score freedom while Tracy Abbott faces horror. Billy Abbott and Nick Newman will also become heroes, so here's what I and our fans can expect. As the walls close in on Phyllis and Sharon, they'll worry they may not make it out of their kidnapping ordeal alive. Sharon and Phyllis will get backed into a terrible corner and fear that losing the game will mean losing their lives. Thankfully, Phyllis and Sharon will have some help once Nick and Billy make it to Havenhurst Psychiatric Clinic. Billy and Nick are next in line for some teamwork, so they should join forces to ensure Sharon and Phyllis make it out safely. Once Nick and Billy pull off this rescue, they'll no doubt earn Phyllis and Sharon's gratitude. You can bet Sharon will leap into Nick's arms for a comforting embrace, and Phyllis may do the same with Billy once he comes through for her. Of course, it's possible some unexpected kisses could play out depending on how far Y and R wants to take these close moments. Could Sharon pull Nick into a kiss while Phyllis plants a smooch on Billy? We wouldn't blame Phyllis and Sharon for getting carried away after the captivity chaos they've just endured. However, there'll at least be some hugs and some sighs of relief. Phyllis and Sharon will eventually reunite with the rest of their loved ones as well, so they'll all be glad once this abduction drama wraps up. Meanwhile, Martin Lawrence seems poised to get busted as the mastermind of Sharon and Phyllis kidnapping mayhem. That means Martin should also get exposed for posing as his twin brother, Alan Lawrence. Tracccy will face some horror and heartbreak once she realizes Alan is actually Martin, who survived his tumble in Paris and took over Alan's life once again. After Tracccy gets updates on this alarming news, she'll definitely need her family's support. As for Claire Newman, she may hope Summer Newman will back off Kyle Abbott once Phyllis is rescued. Claire might think Kyle can enforce stricter boundaries once he doesn't have to take pity on his ex. Unfortunately, Summer may not be done plotting against Kyle and Claire's romance just yet. There may be other strategies Summer uses to cross the line, at least until Kyle's willing to put his foot down and say enough is enough. Whatever the case, Claire may make some positive predictions about where things are headed with Kyle, but more obstacles could be looming thanks to Summer. The Young and the Restless spoilers say the week of March 17 to 21 will bring some big curveballs, so stay tuned. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching, so let's dive into today's video. As fans eagerly anticipate the upcoming episodes of Young and the Restless, from March 17 to March 21, there are plenty of twists to look forward to. From explosive revelations to intense confrontations, here's a summary of what's coming. Alan's deception unveiled. One of the biggest shocks in the coming week is the revelation that Alan Lawrence is not who he appears to be. Initially thought to be a romantic hero, Alan is exposed as a villainous captor. While he proposes to Tracccy and seems genuinely in love with her, viewers soon discover that he is monitoring Phyllis and Sharon, who are trapped at Havenhurst Psychiatric Clinic. This shocking twist suggests that Alan may not be who he claims, and many fans suspect the person behind the facade is his evil twin, Martin. With a history of sociopathy and jealousy, Martin's motivations seem to stem from an unhealthy obsession with his twin brother's life. Sharon and Phyllis' desperate fight for survival. As Sharon and Phyllis continue to struggle for freedom, tensions rise. Having saved each other's lives, they unite in a desperate effort to escape the clutches of their captor. However, they may be walking into a dangerous trap set by Alan or his twisted twin Martin. Fans can expect a life-or-death battle as they race against time to get out alive. Jack's growing suspicion. Jack Abbott is beginning to smell something fishy. His concerns grow over Alan's sudden devotion to Tracccy, especially as he abandons his prestigious career to focus solely on her. Jack's instinct tells him that Alan may be too good to be true, and his suspicions will likely drive him to investigate further. Jack's role in uncovering the truth is expected to become crucial in the coming episodes. The rising conflict between Claire and Summer. In another dramatic development, Claire grows increasingly frustrated with Summer's interference in her relationship with Kyle. While Claire doesn't blame Kyle for Summer's actions, she can no longer ignore the growing tension. Expect a confrontation as Claire takes matters into her own hands, determined to set the record straight and expose Summer's manipulative behavior. Nick and Billy's quest to find Phyllis and Sharon. Nick and Billy, armed with new clues, are racing to locate Phyllis and Sharon before it's too late. They will face numerous challenges as they try to confirm their lead and determine if it's a legitimate opportunity or a dangerous trap. Fans are left wondering if they will arrive in time to save the women or if they'll be too late. Victor's manipulations and Tracy's blissful unawareness. Victor Newman's influence continues to shape events in Genoa City as he manipulates Summer in her efforts to sabotage Kyle's relationship with Claire. Meanwhile, Tracy, blissfully unaware of the dangers surrounding her, begins to make wedding plans. Her excitement is palpable, but little does she know that a dark presence looms close. As the week progresses, the drama intensifies. With Claire confronting Summer, Jack questioning Alan's intentions, and Nick and Billy racing against time to rescue Phyllis and Sharon, there's no shortage of action. Meanwhile, Tracy's engagement marks a bittersweet moment of happiness amidst the growing chaos. The upcoming episodes promise more twists, turning Young and the Restless into an unmissable thrill ride. The Young and the Restless scoop for Wednesday, March 12, reveals Alan Laurent is harboring a disturbing secret. Also coming up, Tracy Abbott will get engaged. Plus, Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers will solve the final puzzle, and Nick Newman and Billy Abbott will get a viable lead. My and our spoilers tease Alan will tell Diane Jenkins and Jack Abbott that he tried to surprise Tracy in New York, but it didn't go as planned. He was in DC and his flights ended up getting delayed. My and our daily scoop. Alan kisses Tracy after she agrees to marry him. Alan will suggest to Tracy that if he quits his speaking engagements, they'd have more time to travel together. But Tracy will say she'd never ask him to give that up. I am glad my sister has you in her life, Jack will tell Alan. He'll say a year ago he was alone in Paris, but now he's not, because of her. Tracy will say she hasn't been this happy in years. He'll reply that if he thought he had a shot, he'd ask her to marry him. Jack and Diane will take that as their clue to leave. Alan will move to sit beside Tracy. He'll say he wants to give her space, but wants to be nearer to her. You are the one thing in my life I never realized I didn't have, he'll add. I love you very much. Tracy Abbott, will you marry me? Of course, Tracy will say yes. Alan will ask how she feels. She'll say you get to a point where you feel you don't need this kind of love in your life anymore. Finding you has been this unexpected gift to what's already been a lovely life. Ellen will say she needs to get a ring, and he'll be right back. Jack and Diane will come downstairs. So sis, any news? Jack will ask her. Tracy will gush that she's going to get married, and Alan's run out to get a ring, to make it official. At Crimson Lights, Nick and Chance Chancellor will tell Summer Newman they're getting closer to finding Sharon and Phyllis. They'll update her about the van, but Chance will say the security footage didn't show them getting abducted. However, he does have a bad feeling about it. Summer will flip out and Chance will say he didn't say that to upset her. Nick will say they should do a door-to-door search in the area, which contains a bunch of abandoned medical buildings. Chance will tell him he'll get a search warrant, but Nick will say he wants to call in ranch security. Young and the Restless scoop. Phyllis tries her best to revive Sharon. Then Nick will head to the ranch and Billy will show up. He'll say Daniel Romalotti gave him the number of Phyllis' burner phone and he called it. Then he received a strange text from it. Click here for information on the Havenhurst Psychiatric Clinic. So Nick will look it up and say it's abandoned. It's in the warehouse district where the cops and Newman security are going to search. Billy will say it can't be a coincidence. They'll arrive at Crimson Lights and tell Chance and Summer about the text. Meanwhile, Phyllis will try to pick the lock on the door while Sharon sleeps on the couch. She'll taunt their captor as she tries to break them out of there, but he won't respond. Phyllis will tell Sharon to wake up, but she won't move. Sharon, wake up. Sharon, come on, come on, come on. Phyllis will say. She'll shake Sharon and she won't be able to feel a pulse. Then she'll find a Valentine's Day card underneath Sharon's head. I mark my time in blood, sweat, and tears. So Phyllis will do CPR on Sharon and even give her mouth to mouth. She'll wake up and she'll ask what happened. Sharon, you died, Phyllis will tell her. You saved my life. Turns out I was right about you, wasn't I? Sharon will reply. I saved your life, you saved mine. Sharon will tell Phyllis this situation has changed things. It's changed us. But Phyllis will say they may have saved each other because they don't want to be alone. The question is, what happens next? Sharon will ask her. Phyllis will then solve the final riddle. They have to find an escape route together. The voice is gone, and there is a way out. There has to be. Finally, Alan, or more likely his twin brother Martin, will head to the park. He'll pull out the ring he bought Tracy and smile. Then he'll get a notification on his phone, and he'll look at a live shot of Sharon and Phyllis in the dingy basement. The Young and the Restless Scoop for Wednesday, March 12 reveals Alan Laurent is harboring a disturbing secret. My and our spoilers tease Alan will tell Diane Jenkins and Jack Abbott that he tried to surprise Tracy in New York. But it didn't go as planned. He was in D.C., and his flights ended up getting delayed. My and our Daily Scoop. Alan kisses Tracy after she agrees to marry him. Alan will suggest to Tracy that if he quits his speaking engagements, they'd have more time to travel together. But Tracy will say she'd never ask him to give that up. I am glad my sister has you in her life, Jack will tell Alan. He'll say a year ago he was alone in Paris, but now he's not, because of her. Tracy will say she hasn't been this happy in years. He'll reply that if he thought he had a shot, he'd ask her to marry him. Jack and Diane will take that as their clue to leave. Alan will move to sit beside Tracy. He'll say he wants to give her space, but wants to be nearer to her. You are the one thing in my life I never realized I didn't have, he'll add. I love you very much. Tracy Abbott, will you marry me? Of course, Tracy will say yes. Alan will ask how she feels. She'll say you get to a point where you feel you don't need this kind of love in your life anymore. Finding you has been this unexpected gift to what's already been a lovely life. Ellen will say she needs to get a ring, and he'll be right back. Jack and Diane will come downstairs. So sis, any news? Jack will ask her. Tracy will gush that she's going to get married, and Alan's run out to get a ring to make it official. At Crimson Lights, Nick and Chance Chancellor will tell Summer Newman they're getting closer to finding Sharon and Phyllis. They'll update her about the van, but Chance will say the security footage didn't show them getting abducted. However, he does have a bad feeling about it. Summer will flip out and Chance will say he didn't say that to upset her. Nick will say they should do a door-to-door search in the area, which contains a bunch of abandoned medical buildings. Chance will tell him he'll get a search warrant, but Nick will say he wants to call in ranch security. Young and the Restless Scoop. Phyllis tries her best to revive Sharon. Then Nick will head to the ranch and Billy will show up. He'll say Daniel Romalotti gave him the number of Phyllis' burner phone and he called it. Then he received a strange text from it. Click here for information on the Havenhurst Psychiatric Clinic. So Nick will look it up and say it's abandoned. It's in the warehouse district where the cops and Newman security are going to search. Billy will say it can't be a coincidence. They'll arrive at Crimson Lights and tell Chance and Summer about the text. Meanwhile, Phyllis will try to pick the lock on the door while Sharon sleeps on the couch. She'll taunt their captor as she tries to break them out of there, but he won't respond. Phyllis will tell Sharon to wake up, but she won't move. Sharon, wake up. Sharon, come on, come on, come on. Phyllis will say. She'll shake Sharon and she won't be able to feel a pulse. Then she'll find a Valentine's Day card underneath Sharon's head. I mark my time in blood, sweat, and tears. So Phyllis will do CPR on Sharon and even give her mouth to mouth. She'll wake up and she'll ask what happened. Sharon, you died. Phyllis will tell her. You saved my life. Turns out I was right about you, wasn't I? Sharon will reply. I saved your life, you saved mine. Sharon will tell Phyllis this situation has changed things. It's changed us. But Phyllis will say they may have saved each other because they don't want to be alone. The question is, what happens next? Sharon will ask her. Phyllis will then solve the final riddle. They have to find an escape route together. The voice is gone, and there is a way out. There has to be. Finally, Alan, or more likely his twin brother Martin, will head to the park. He'll pull out the ring he bought Tracy and smile. Then he'll get a notification on his phone, and he'll look at a live shot of Sharon and Phyllis in the dingy basement. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Ashley Abbott has been missing lately from Genoa City. Meanwhile, the rest of the Abbott family seems to be going through one crisis after another. It seems odd that Ashley isn't around and nobody has mentioned her. Despite the double kidnapper's voice being a distorted male, could it actually be a woman? Keep reading and let's talk about the possibilities. Abby Newman Abbott's wedding. The last time that Ashley was really around was when she came back from mental health treatment in Paris. It was really important for Ashley to be back in time for her daughter's wedding. The treatment for dissociative identity disorder wasn't simple or easy. However, Ashley made it back just in time to help celebrate Abby and Devon Hamilton Winter's wedding. Since then, Ashley seems to have disappeared again. Double kidnapping mystery. After the wedding, Jordan and Ian Ward were taken down. Jordan was killed while Victor Newman believed he murdered Ian. However, fans know that Ian opened his eyes in the ambulance after being pronounced dead. Despite many fans believing Ian must have kidnapped Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, and Phyllis Summers, could there be another possibility? At this point, I think Ian would be too obvious. Mysterious male voice. There is also the kidnapper, who only communicates with Phyllis and Sharon through a speaker in an abandoned mental health facility. The voice sounds distorted, but is male. At least, it sounds like it's male. If the kidnapper was able to distort his voice, then couldn't they use the same technology to make it sound totally different? Perhaps even as a different gender. Ashley Abbott's curious disappearance. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that maybe there is a reason why Ashley hasn't been mentioned. Ashley likely told her family she was taking care of business or maybe going back to Paris. The fact that nobody has said anything makes it seem like it's for a reason. Could Ashley have gone through another did relapse? Could Ashley's alters be resurfacing and something terrible? While Ashley herself has no reason to torment Phyllis or Sharon, perhaps one of the alters do. It should also be noted that the mysterious captor mentioned Phyllis and Sharon were in an experiment. It made it sound like Phyllis and Sharon are just the test subjects. If that is the case, then who is the kidnapper really preparing for? Is Ashley behind this, and if so, what will be the outcome? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to keep watching the soap on CBS or Paramount Plus to find out what is coming up next. Young and the Restless recap for Wednesday, March 12, reveals that Martin Laurent will watch the live clinic video after Phyllis Summers does CPR to save Sharon Newman. In captivity, Phyllis will panic when she can't wake Sharon up. Once Phyllis realizes she can't find a pulse, she'll mull over a card with a clue on it and ultimately start doing CPR. Sharon will gasp for air sooner or later and learn Phyllis just saved her life. Once Phyllis and Sharon accept that they've rescued each other, they'll realize the captor is seemingly gone, and that their final riddle is to find a way out. Since Sharon and Phyllis won't be distracted by their feud anymore, they'll resolve to use teamwork to make this escape happen and will shake on it. At Crimson Lights, Summer Newman will join Chance Chancellor and Nick Newman as they discuss the latest details of the case. The white van will be traced to an abandoned warehouse district, so Nick and Chance will make some positive predictions based on this lead. Later, Billy Abbott will show Nick another clue since he called the burner phone number that Daniel Romalotti Jr. gave him for Phyllis. Billy will point out that a text came through from that number urging him to click for more information on Havenhurst Psychiatric Clinic. Since that clinic will be in the same abandoned warehouse district that they've been looking at, Nick will know it can't be a coincidence. Billy and Nick will eventually give Chance and Summer updates on what they've learned as they prepare to take action. At the GCAC on Wednesday's I&R episode, it seems Alan Lawrence's evil twin, Martin, will be posing as his brother. During a meal with Tracccy Abbott, Jack Abbott, and Diane Jenkins Abbott, Alan will welcome Tracy back from her trip and tell a funny story about his failed attempt to surprise her in New York. After Tracy and Alan gush over what they feel for each other, Alan will suggest he could stop his speaking engagements and begin traveling with Tracy more. In fact, Alan will hint that he'd ask Tracy to marry him right now if he thought she'd say yes. Jack and Diane will excuse themselves, so that'll give Alan a chance to deliver a proper proposal. Tracy will accept Alan's offer of marriage, so Alan will rush out to buy a ring and make this official. While Tracy is sharing the good news with Jack and Diane, Alan will sit on a bench in the park and gaze at the ring he's just purchased. Alan, aka Martin, will also pull up the live video from the clinic so he can watch Sharon and Phyllis, so that'll confirm him as their captor. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Phyllis and Sharon have more danger ahead of them, so don't miss the life-threatening shockers ahead. It's the place to be for terrific Young and the Restless spoilers, updates and news, so make us your one-stop I&R source. I&R star Michelle Stafford hints the kidnapping storyline will have an explosive ending. The Young and the Restless stars Michelle Stafford and Sharon Case have been amazing during the kidnapping storyline. Phyllis and Sharon held together in captivity has brought drama, suspense, and a little humor to the show. With the story reaching its end soon, Stafford promises it won't be disappointing. A grand finale. Phyllis and Sharon being held captive is one of Y&R's top storylines. It's got plenty of mystery as fans wonder who the kidnapper is and their motive for kidnapping the women. Then there's drama and humor with Phyllis and Sharon's bickering. Although they're supposed to work together to escape, the longtime rivals can't resist throwing barbs at each other. Time is of the essence for the women as the kidnappers' games reach the end. Will Sharon and Phyllis escape in time, or will Nick and Chance come to their rescue? These are a few questions lingering as the storyline reaches its conclusion. According to Stafford and Case, it's going to be a grand finale. In an interview with Soaps.com, the actresses discussed filming the climax of the kidnapping story. It required both of them to pull off their best work. Oh, can we just say what it is? Sharon and I did that mother f*** in one take, Stafford gleefully said. Although Stafford is used to filming in one take, she was nervous they wouldn't get this one right. But Case was there to help her co-star. I sensed her nerves and she probably sensed mine. And we're just buzzing together, Case explained. And finally, when it's time to go, I'm like, this is going to be grand. This is going to be great. Everything went off without a hitch, and the ladies filmed their epic storyline conclusion. It was the Soap Olympics, Stafford proclaimed. Although the actresses didn't reveal many secrets from the way they talked, it's going to be something fans won't want to miss. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday March 12 show that Phyllis Summers and Sharon Newman remain in the condemned building that nonetheless has food and water provided for them. That water saved Phyllis' life courtesy of Sharon, but rest assured, no good deed goes unpunished. At the abandoned psychiatric facility, Phyllis and Sharon will realize it's time to take charge of their own destiny. The captor informs them this isn't personal, he's in it to prove a point. But how would this person know so much about them if he doesn't have a personal connection to them? That makes no sense. Sharon and Phyllis seek to gain the advantage on Wednesday's show. After days of riddle solving, Phyllis and Sharon decide to take control away from their captor. At least, they decide to try and turn the tables, so why are they in panic mode at week's end? Will Phyllis and Sharon bury the hatchet? Meanwhile, Chance Chancellor tries to pacify Summer Newman, who is in no mood. She is worried about Phyllis and told her dad Nick Newman that because of Chance arresting her brother Daniel Romalotti in the past, this still bothers her. Nonetheless, he updates Summer on the information he gave Daniel. A white van with no windows was seen in the areas where Sharon and Phyllis were last seen. Crestfallen, she accepts Chance's support. Tracccy and Alan are riding a wave. Elsewhere, Traccy Abbott and Alan Laurent are dining with her brother Jack Abbott and Diane Jenkins. Traccy trills about her happiness with the shrink when he stuns everyone. Alan is ready to propose. What a catch, handsome, smart, and kind. If Traccy is smart, she will say yes. Would that then pave the way for the show to reveal that Alan is really his skeevy twin? Fans have wondered if Alan is his sociopathic twin, Martin Laurent. Could it be that he's the one playing the game with Sharon and Phyllis? The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates tease all evidence now suggests that Martin Laurent is the one holding Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers captive. It appears that Alan Laurent's sinister twin is orchestrating this chilling experiment. Let's delve into the myriad clues that have emerged. Alan and Martin were opposite twins identical, but Alan good and Martin evil. In August 2024, the series dropped a significant clue suggesting that Alan could actually be Martin. When Alan returned home with Traccy Abbott, he gazed at the Abbott mansion as if he were seeing it for the very first time. Although he later insisted that he simply hadn't appreciated the house before, it raised some eyebrows. Many viewers speculated that Alan might indeed be Martin, but the storyline didn't delve deeper into this theory until now. If Martin is indeed the twin who survived the balcony incident, it seems he has been masquerading as Alan all along. Alan's reveal as Martin may have been a last-minute decision. The show has only recently embraced the twist with the introduction of the peculiar captor of Sharon and Phyllis. Now, Y&R is finally advancing the Martin storyline, gearing up for a significant revelation. Subtle clues have emerged indicating that their captor could be a former mental patient, particularly given the eerie setting of an abandoned psychiatric facility where they are held. Even Billy Abbott hinted that there might be another madman at play. Aside from Ian Ward, and Martin certainly fits that description. Additionally, it's clear that Martin prides himself on having superior methods compared to Alan when it comes to handling patients. Martin pushed Ashley Abbott too hard. Martin exerted excessive pressure on Ashley Abbott with his hypnosis techniques, driven by a need to assert his dominance over his brother. In the episode airing on March 11, the captor of Sharon and Phyllis revealed that the entire ordeal should be viewed as an experiment. This individual is treating Phyllis and Sharon like subjects in a lab, deriving pleasure from proving his theories correct. We recall that Alan had previously mentioned conducting a psychological study and sought an interview with Sharon for his book. If this was indeed Martin, his fixation on Sharon may have intensified during her hypnosis sessions linked to the Ian and Jordan storyline. Martin must have researched Phyllis and Sharon's pasts. Perhaps Martin has convinced himself that he can mend the rift between Sharon and Phyllis by taking drastic measures. It's likely he delved into their history for this endeavor, which Sharon suspects is merely a ploy to showcase their kidnapper's cunning. Now, Alan is poised to make more appearances alongside Tracy, and it's important to note that he appears somewhat unhinged in the Y&R preview for the week of March 10. The show seems to be steering Alan toward a more erratic portrayal, reminiscent of Martin, suggesting that Christopher Cousins is playing Alan as if he were Martin ahead of a shocking twist. Unfortunately, Tracy's life may soon unravel when the truth about Alan comes to light. She may transition from believing she's about to marry Alan to discovering he's his sociopathic twin. The Young and the Restless spoilers, a tale of betrayal and courage. Tracy had always been a symbol of radiant joy and hope amid life's uncertainties. On that soft, late autumn afternoon, she held Alan's engagement ring in trembling hands, its glimmer promising a future full of happiness and endless celebrations. She envisioned her wedding day, herself in a beautiful gown, surrounded by the laughter of friends and family. This dream, etched so vividly in her mind, erased the darker shadows of her reality until fate intervened. Unbeknownst to Tracy, the man she trusted had hidden deep secrets. He was not who he appeared to be. Driven by a sudden, inexplicable urge to uncover the truth, Tracy stealthily followed Alan, watching in silent horror as he drove away in a sleek black car, its taillights disappearing into the encroaching dusk. Her heart pounded in her ears as she pursued him, a growing sense of foreboding guiding her steps. The chase led her to an old, decrepit building, an abandoned house, its broken windows and crumbling walls painting a grim picture, starkly contrasting the vibrant future she had imagined. A mix of trepidation and determination surged through her as she approached. What was Alan doing here? Who could be held captive in this forsaken place? Pushing open the creaking door, Tracccy slipped inside. The interior was shrouded in shadows, with only faint light seeping through cracks in the boarded-up windows. As her eyes adjusted, she discovered two figures bound to chairs in a corner of the room. Sharon and Phyllis, two women whose lives were intertwined with her own, sat there, their faces etched with despair. The sight broke her heart. With no hesitation, Tracccy silently vowed to rescue them. Just as Tracy spoke the words to herself, Sharon's eyes widened, and she moved to scream. But Phyllis, ever the cautious one, pressed a trembling hand over Sharon's mouth, whispering urgently, "Quiet, please. If we make a sound, he'll know. Remember, our captor is watching us through those damn cameras." The weight of their captivity settled in as Tracy realized their every move was under surveillance. Yet her resolve only deepened. She knew she had to act quickly, and she took on the role of rescuer with a fierce determination. Tracy was no stranger to adversity, and she would use every ounce of courage and intelligence to outsmart their captor. In the silence of the abandoned house, the weight of betrayal hung heavily in Tracy's heart. The ring, once a symbol of Alan's commitment, now felt like a cruel reminder of the illusion she had been living. Every passing moment seemed to heighten the tension, and the trio's whispered words of encouragement were all they had to keep their spirits afloat. As the night deepened, Tracy's thoughts raced through the layout of the house, the position of the surveillance cameras, and every shadowy detail she had observed. The strategy was risky, but their survival depended on it. She had to act before Alan could stop them, knowing he was more than capable of deception and manipulation. With the sound of distant leaves rustling and the faint hum of passing cars, every small noise felt amplified in the oppressive silence. The trio, bound by their shared determination, began to map out their escape. Tracy, heart bruised but unyielding, had found her resolve. The man she once trusted, Alan, was not who he claimed to be. He was a monster in disguise, a false savior who had used his position as a respected doctor to manipulate and control everyone around him. Tracy now knew Alan's true identity, he was not the man she had believed him to be. The realization struck like a thunderbolt. Alan had been living a lie, using his reputation as a physician to carry out his sinister plans. Behind the charming facade was a cunning villain who thrived on control and deceit. But even as the grim reality of their situation pressed down on her, Tracy's determination grew stronger. She refused to let fear paralyze her. No matter the danger, no matter the darkness that surrounded them, she would fight to the end to save Sharon and Phyllis. The promise of a future, though shattered for now, could still be reclaimed. As the first hints of dawn began to stir outside, the stage was set for a confrontation. Tracy was ready to face the villain who had shattered so many lives, to expose the truth behind Alan's facade, and to free the women who had once been her closest friends. But the danger was far from over. Alan, ever the manipulator, might have already anticipated her every move. The stakes had never been higher. Each second counted. The abandoned house, once a place of hope for Tracy, had now become a battleground, a test of wills between good and evil. The fate of Sharon, Phyllis, and Tracy herself rested on the choices they made in the coming moments. In the final act of this high-stakes drama, the bonds of trust and courage would be put to the ultimate test. Tracccy would confront the darkness head-on, determined to rewrite the ending of this harrowing tale. And no matter the odds, no matter the deception, the human spirit, when united in purpose, could light a way through even the darkest of lies. He Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that I&R's adding Billy Flynn as a brand new character. So the Days of Our Lives star is leaving the role of Chad DiMera behind. It turns out Flynn is so popping, so he'll be making the move from Salem to Genoa City. I&R fans can expect to see Flynn make his debut on the CBS soap in the not-too-distant future. Although the show's keeping the character details under wraps, Flynn will make his first appearance later this spring in a new role, according to TV Insider. Although Flynn celebrated a decade at Days of Our Lives not too long ago, he seems ready to embrace the change of something new. In a statement, Flynn expressed his gratitude for his time at DOL and shared excitement over challenging himself with this new opportunity. Of course, plenty of Days fans will miss Billy Flynn as Chad DiMera, but you've still got time to enjoy him in that role. Since DOL films about 9 months in advance, Flynn's work as Chad will continue to air through 2026. The Young and the Restless executive producer and head writer Josh Griffith penned stories for Flynn from 2015 to 2016 on Days of Our Lives, but now he's got a chance to write for Flynn as someone brand new on Y&R. Griffith is already making predictions about the good things we're all going to see from Flynn moving forward. On behalf of the entire company of The Young and the Restless, we look forward to welcoming Billy to the show, Griffith said in a statement to TV Insider. He will be a wonderful addition to Y&R's stellar cast. How do you feel about Billy Flynn leaving as Chad DiMera on Days? Are you looking forward to seeing Flynn make his debut in Genoa City? It'll be interesting to see what Flynn's role is like and who he might be paired up with upon his arrival. There's always room for fresh faces in GC, so we'll bring you updates as more news comes in regarding Flynn's part. The Young and the Restless spoilers say there's much more drama to come on the CBS soap, so don't miss what's ahead for Flynn's character and so many others. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Phyllis had reached a breaking point. The pain, both physical and emotional, had become unbearable, and with every passing moment, it seemed to seep deeper into her very soul. In a fit of overwhelming agony, she slumped back onto the plush sofa, her body convulsing before finally going still as she fell into an unnerving state of unconsciousness. Sharon, who had been standing guard nearby, immediately noticed the abrupt change in Phyllis's condition. Panic clutched her heart as she rushed to her friend's side, desperate to wake her up or at least understand what was happening. Before Sharon could even get close enough to check Phyllis's pulse, the heavy wooden door creaked open with an ominous sound. In the doorway stood a man whose appearance sent shivers down Sharon's spine. It was Alan, an enigmatic figure whose very presence evoked dread and uncertainty. His cold, calculating eyes scanned the room as if he were a scientist meticulously examining his latest experiment. "Alan," Sharon stuttered, her voice trembling as she tried to gather the fragments of her shattered courage. "Why are you doing this? I haven't done anything wrong to you. Why are you imprisoning me?" Al's voice was calm and measured, yet there was an undeniable malice lurking beneath his composed exterior. "You see, my dear," he began, stepping further into the room with an air of twisted satisfaction, "we are nothing more than lab rats in my experiment. Each of you is a subject, a means to understand the intricate boundaries of human endurance." As he spoke, Alan paced slowly, savoring every word. "Phyllis, you will be the first sacrifice," he declared with chilling finality, "and once she is gone, you, Sharon, will be next." His words cut through the air like a knife, each syllable loaded with the promise of imminent terror. Sharon's eyes widened in horror as tears began to stream down her face. "Please, Alan, I beg you," she cried, her voice breaking under the weight of despair. "I want to live. Let Phyllis die, but spare me. I cannot bear the thought of losing both of us." Unbeknownst to Alan, though, Phyllis's story was not over. As she lay motionless on the sofa, a spark of resilience still burned within her. Though her body had betrayed her with a convincing portrayal of unconsciousness, her mind remained alert. Every word, every malicious tone from Alan's lips reached her ears, and deep inside, she was biding her time. Her silent vow was clear. She would not let this twisted experiment continue at the expense of her and Sharon's lives. The tension in the room escalated rapidly. Driven by desperation and the instinct to protect her friend, Sharon attempted to make a move. She lunged forward, determined to seize control of the situation and fight back against the man who had terrorized them both. But Alan, ever prepared for such resistance, reacted with terrifying speed. In an instant, he seized Sharon's neck with a vice-like grip, halting her desperate assault before it could even fully materialize. "Sit still," Alan commanded, his tone now laced with cold authority. "Wait for your inevitable end. If you entertain me with a modicum of cooperation, perhaps I will consider sparing your life for a little longer. But resist, and you will join Phyllis in death." The room was filled with a heavy, suffocating silence, punctuated only by Sharon's muffled cries as the pressure on her throat intensified. In that moment, the line between hope and despair blurred. Sharon's mind raced with conflicting thoughts, fear for her own life, sorrow for Phyllis, and the overwhelming realization that their fate had been cruelly sealed by a man whose heart seemed devoid of any compassion. As the seconds dragged on, Sharon's eyes darted around the room, seeking any possible escape or weapon that might aid her in turning the tide. In her tear-stained gaze, she found solace in one undeniable truth: she still had Phyllis by her side. Even in her apparent lifeless state, Phyllis was there, a silent sentinel, waiting for the opportune moment to strike back at their captor. It was a silent promise between two women, bound by hardship and shared suffering. A promise that they would not go down without a fight. Alan, however, remained unfazed by the display of emotion and vulnerability. He continued to taunt Sharon with calculated cruelty, his voice echoing in the dimly lit room. "You will sit here and wait. I control the experiment, and soon enough, I will decide who lives and who dies. Do not think for a moment that you can change the outcome." As Sharon's grip on consciousness began to waver, the oppressive fear mingled with a steely determination. Her heart pounded in her chest like a frantic drum, each beat resonating with the hope that somehow, someway, they might escape this nightmare. Clinging to that fragile thread of hope, she wrapped her arms around Phyllis, seeking comfort in the warmth of her friend's presence, even as the situation spiraled into darkness. Inside Sharon's mind, memories of better times collided with the harsh reality of the present. There were days when laughter filled the air and the world seemed a kinder place. Those memories now felt like distant echoes, a painful reminder of what was at stake. Sharon was not willing to surrender to despair. She was a fighter, and the love she shared with Phyllis was a bond too precious to be shattered by the cruelty of their captor. In the midst of chaos, Phyllis's internal struggle became a beacon of resistance. Every minute that passed was a calculated delay, a moment to gather strength, to plan, and to wait for that perfect opportunity to turn the tables on Alan. Her mind, though seemingly dormant to the casual observer, was a maelstrom of strategies and counterattacks. She had seen Alan's vulnerabilities before, hidden beneath his arrogant exterior, and she was determined to exploit them when the moment was right. The room, now a stage for this silent battle of wills, seemed to pulse with an almost tangible energy. The flickering light from a solitary lamp cast eerie shadows on the walls, mirroring the tumultuous emotions churning within the captives. Every second that passed was heavy with unspoken promises of retribution and redemption. The stakes were higher than ever. Life and death hung in the balance. And only one outcome was certain: change was coming, whether Alan liked it or not. With a final strained cry that reverberated through the oppressive atmosphere, Sharon's plea for mercy transformed into a raw expression of defiance. "I will not let you win," she murmured, her voice barely audible over the sound of her labored breathing. "We may be your lab rats now, but we are still human, and humans have the power to fight back." Alan's eyes narrowed at her words, his expression twisting into something akin to fury. For a brief moment, the calculated calm in his demeanor faltered, betraying a hint of uncertainty. That fleeting expression of vulnerability was all Phyllis needed. Summoning every ounce of hidden strength, she prepared to unleash a counterattack, a desperate, last-ditch effort to reclaim their freedom and defy the macabre experiment that had ensnared them. In that charged instant, the battle lines were drawn. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a confrontation of wills, a clash between cruelty and the unyielding spirit of those who refused to be broken. The echoes of Alan's threat still hung in the air. "Wait for death," he had said, as if it were the final decree. But in that dark, suffocating room, something else was stirring. Hope, fragile yet persistent, mingled with the determination to fight for survival. Sharon's tearful embrace of Phyllis was not just an act of sorrow. It was a silent vow. Together, they would stand against the tyranny that sought to extinguish their lives. And as Alan's grip tightened, as the reality of their impending fate loomed large, the power dynamics of this cruel experiment began to shift. Phyllis, though appearing vulnerable, was preparing for a moment that could alter the course of their tragic narrative. And Sharon, with every tear shed and every desperate plea, reaffirmed her commitment to resist, to hold on to life, and to defy the cruel fate laid out by a man who saw them as nothing more than test subjects. In a room shrouded by despair and lit only by the dim glow of a solitary lamp, the seeds of rebellion were sown. The battle was far from over. It was a fight for survival, for dignity, for the right to choose one's destiny, even if that destiny meant defying the very hands that sought to control it. In the frigid silence, where every heartbeat echoed the promise of resistance, Phyllis and Sharon silently prepared to reclaim their narrative from the clutches of cruelty. Determined to show that even in the darkest of moments, the human spirit could never be truly tamed.